What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of Between the Sticks. I hope you're doing well on this Thursday night. We had a great day. Today I got a special caller with me today, one of my buddies, Jon. How you doing today, Jon?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Can't wait to start talking about some football.
Yeah, of course. Today we're going to be bringing to you what we got for the CFP takes, who we think is going to get in the playoffs, what they got to do, what your favorite team has to do to get in there, just who they got to beat and what they're up against. I mean, number one thing is you always want to have your fate at hand, but some of the teams don't. We're going to go over a little bit what we think teams got to do to get in. So, Jon, tell me what you got here for our number one seeded Georgia. What you think? What you thinking on them?
Yeah, Georgia's got it pretty easy out the rest of the year, I think. They got a game against Kentucky. That's a sleeper game on the road, but the Kentucky team has been playing well as of late. They've struggled down. Mark Stoops' defense has struggled. So I see Georgia winning out the rest of the season, and that puts them in an SEC championship game against, right now, it's looking like they're going to play LSU. And that's a big game there because now you have Georgia's got to beat LSU, I feel like, to get in, but there is a possibility with one-loss Georgia teams in because of how well they've dominated the season. But then you have the possibility of a two-loss LSU team. If they beat Georgia, they're in.
Yeah. What do you think about Ole Miss? Do you think Ole Miss could get that spot instead of LSU?
Well, see, LSU's got the head-to-head win against Ole Miss. The only thing holding me back. But Ole Miss's only loss is to LSU.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways there. The committee does weird things this time of year. But obviously they have faith in LSU coming off wins against Ole Miss and Bama. Both were home games, but they got a road test at Arkansas this week. So we'll see what they're all about. And so you never know with the committee, man. Ole Miss could jump 6 spots and be in the top 5 starting next week.
What are you thinking happens this weekend with Alabama and Ole Miss?
Dude, Alabama-Ole Miss games for years have been the craziest games to watch.
You
never know what you're going to get. Lane Kiffin, the apprentice, playing Saban. Lane Kiffin's got the new offense. He's got Jackson Dart playing out of his mind.
Yep.
I don't know, dude. It's going to be a good game. It's a 3:30 game on CBS. You can't beat it. It's SEC football. Winner of that game, I don't see any scenario where Alabama makes it back in.
Yeah, me neither.
If they win out and LSU fumbles a couple games and they get in the SEC championship, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
But for Ole Miss, this is a must-win game. If Ole Miss wants in, they got to beat Bama.
If LSU were to, let's just say they make it to the SEC championship, they beat Georgia, what is LSU's spot looking like for the CFP? What do you think is going to happen with them?
LSU is a 4 seed in that case. I think they're in. Because if you look at it, their only losses is the first game of the year. They lost a hard-fought game. It was really a really fun game to watch against Florida State on their home turf. First game for Brian Kelly in the SEC. A hard-fought, competitive game, and they just couldn't win. That's all there was to it.
They did.
And then their only other loss is to the red-hot Tennessee team in the middle of the season.
Yep.
Hendon Hooker was firing on all cylinders. Jalen Hyatt's going off. Cedric Tillman. I mean, that's a tough team to beat. And that's their only other loss, really. They beat a Florida team that's not great, but not terrible. Anthony Richardson is a good quarterback. They went into the swamp and took care of them. They beat Ole Miss at home and Bama at home, back-to-back games. And for them to win out means they beat Arkansas on the road, UAB at home. That game is a non-factor. And Texas A&M in. Like, that's some fierce competition there. Going into Arkansas is not an easy task.
You're right.
Remember, Texas went into Arkansas a couple years ago and got curb stomped. Texas A&M's not a fun place to play either.
Yeah.
2 tough SEC West opponents on the road. If they take care of business there and then they beat Georgia, I feel like they have to.
Now, another thing I want to talk about here is TCU. Horned Frog fans everywhere going crazy, having success this year. They're really looking at it. They're looking at that CFP picture, and they're saying, hey, we're getting in no matter what. But personally, I think they have a big task this week in playing Texas and the Longhorns. I mean, Quinn Ewers is playing good football. I think Quinn Ewers can take it to him.
I agree completely with that statement. The thing that Texas is going to have to do if they're going to win this football game is they're going to have to end the game before the fourth quarter. If this game goes into the fourth quarter, TCU wins.
Oh, of course.
TCU has
TCU's
been down
so
2
good.
scores, 3 scores in the fourth quarter, come back, make it look like nothing. The Texas Tech game, I believe they're down 24-13 going into the fourth quarter. They won 34-24.
I know. They're
TCU
so
is
good.
not to mess with when they get in the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter
Texas
football.
Texas got to put that game away early, and I think they got the capability with Quinn Ewers and Bijan Robinson. That team's playing well. That's going to be a fun game to watch. It's a 7:30 game on ABC.
I know.
That's going to be a fun game to watch.
It's going to be big because if TCU loses that game, I mean, there's no way you get in after that. You can't take a loss there and still get in.
A one-loss Big 12 team doesn't make it.
Yeah, Texas, they're already out. So they're just right now they're playing. They got nothing to lose. They're playing to upset TCU's season right now. I mean, this is the last thing they got going for them. So this is on upset alert. I mean, if this isn't betting advice, but I'm taking Texas in that game. I'm not actually sure what the spread is on that, but I think I'd take Texas money line for that game right there.
No, that'd be a smart take where they're playing.
Another thing is people are kind of writing off Tennessee. And with this loss to Georgia, they're writing off Tennessee, but don't get too ahead of yourself because Tennessee has a way back in the playoffs. I personally think they do. What are you thinking, John?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And we see, if we're looking here at the CFP standings, the committee loves Tennessee this year.
They did.
And the way CFP works, if you're not familiar with it, is it's all about the committee. It's all about who the committee likes, what they're thinking. The committee is proven that they love Tennessee this year, and rightfully so. Tennessee's playing good football. They had a rough game against Georgia, but that's a Kirby Smart team that had a bye week to prepare for.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But Tennessee has got an easy end of the year.
They do.
Missouri,
they really do.
South Carolina, Vanderbilt.
Yep.
That's 3 subpar SEC East opponents.
Yep.
So we can write Tennessee off in a sense. Now, this might be a jinx, but we can write Tennessee off in a sense of winning out the rest of the season. That puts them as an 11-1 SEC East team.
Yeah, I think they do, and especially if Georgia takes that win on the SEC championship, I feel like Tennessee, therefore, is the second best team in the SEC. I think that's how the committee looks at it. Georgia, Tennessee, and then the SEC runner-up, whether that's Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss.
I agree.
I think, but then it becomes, okay, so let's say Georgia wins. We'll get into the Big Ten later. Let's just say Ohio State beats Michigan.
Yep.
TCU loses to Texas. You have 2 teams in, maybe 3. What happens if that 4th team is between a Pac-12 champion Oregon and a one-loss non-conference champion Tennessee?
I mean, that's the question. That's what the committee's going to have to look at.
It is.
Because you have the 3 spot. You get the 3 spot that you're like, man, I don't know who we put there either. So you got teams like, man, we're forgetting about them. USC is still in this thing.
They are.
Clemson's still in this thing. North Carolina's still in this thing.
I was going to bring that up.
Still in this thing.
Yep.
Forgetting about North Carolina. North Carolina's 8-1.
If North Carolina wins that ACC championship, they got to be in the conversation.
Drake May might be the best quarterback in college football right now.
He's playing good football. Good football.
Amazing. His QBR's been close or over 100. Their 1 losses to a Notre Dame team who now Marcus Freeman has got that team playing out of their mind.
Yep.
Notre Dame's where they should have been at the start of the year. Yep. So then you look at that and you say, man, Clemson lost to this Notre Dame team that probably should be ranked higher than they are.
Yeah.
That Notre Dame team should be in the top 25.
Absolutely. And I think
this week, but it should have been after last week.
I think that Clemson and North Carolina, they need some other people to lose. They need some other things to happen, but I think the winner of that ACC championship will be in the discussion. Maybe not as much as a Michigan, Oregon, Tennessee team, but I think they're still there, especially if something happens up there. Maybe Michigan drops a game before Ohio State. Tennessee somehow loses to South Carolina or Missouri. Oregon loses. You never know.
I agree, and that's the beauty of college football playoff is matter.
Absolutely.
Yes, anymore. It's not you lose once and you're out. game matters, and these teams got to play their best football right now, no matter who they're playing. Tennessee just played Georgia, yeah, but they got to play their best football against South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. Because if they don't, there's no chance.
Yep. What are we looking at that end of the year game, the game, Ohio State and Michigan? What's your take on that game?
Man, I've been telling people this is my favorite game of the year. I've been looking at it since about 3 weeks ago when we realized that these two teams are the real deal. I am usually not a Big Ten guy. I usually think, man, Big Ten's, they're going to make it in, but they're not going to do anything.
Yep.
But this year, my opinion has changed. I love this Ohio State team. Now the conversation has started. It started about this Northwestern game. They went 21-7. Everybody's talking about that. Oh, they only beat them 21-7. But what they're not looking at, I'm going to rattle off some scores real quick for you, Brady.
Okay.
Ohio State beat Notre Dame at the start of the year 21-10.
Yep.
Arkansas State 45-12. Toledo 77-21. Wisconsin 52-21. Rutgers 49-10. Michigan State 49-20. Iowa 54-10. The 13th ranked team Penn State 44-31.
And two of those games that are like underlying is Notre Dame and Iowa. Two of those games, those are two good teams.
Iowa's been playing good football for 5 years.
Yep. Good defense.
Iowa is a good football team.
Good defense.
They got an Indiana team on the road that's a little iffy this year, and a Maryland team that put up a good fight against Michigan. So they got something they got to do before Michigan. But I really think this team could do it, man. C.J. Stroud's experience, Marvin Harrison might be the best receiver in college football.
He could be. He very well could be.
Ryan Day's got this team playing well, and they're really balanced. Mayan Williams has got 636 rushing yards on the year. Travion Henderson has 552. They got two backs that can do it. Listen to this stat, Braden. Mayan Williams is averaging 6.2 yards per carry. Travion Henderson is averaging 5.8 yards per carry. These guys are running the ball.
They got it going on in the backfield.
And they got C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison to pair with it. And let's not forget about Mike Egbuka. Okay, he has to step up for Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's the number 2 receiver now, and he's balling out. He's playing some of the best football in the nation as well. So I think a lot of people are overlooking this Ohio State team, although they are ranked number 2, and although they have been in the top 5 since the start of the year, I still think people are sleeping on the Big Ten this year. I would agree with the sleeper thoughts in the past years. But this Ohio State team, they came to play this year. And that Ohio State-Michigan game is that's going to be one to watch.
It's going to be crazy. I think Blake Corum, you got to watch him. I mean, I think he could put Ohio State to sleep really early on. If Michigan gets up early in that game, they could take it. They can go after it. But I think if that game's a dogfight, if it gets late into the fourth quarter and it's a close game, I think Ohio State does take that game just because their depth and versatility. I think C.J. Stroud's experience, I think they definitely take that game if it gets later in the fourth quarter. But Michigan's just got to get up on them early. They got to take it to them, but we'll see kind of how it shapes out later in the year. Another thing I wanted to ask you is give me your Final Four. Who do you think's in? Who do you think is making it at the end of the year?
I got a crazy one, Brad.
I got you.
Crazy after this one, okay?
Anything. Shoot it.
I have a one-loss Georgia team. They lose to LSU in the SEC championship.
Okay.
That's my 2 seed, 3 seed, somewhere in there. I don't know what numbers these are. I'm just throwing them in there, okay?
Okay.
I have an undefeated Ohio State after a win in the horseshoe against Michigan. I have a 2-loss LSU team.
Okay.
Crazy to hear. A 2-loss SEC team has a very high chance of making the playoff this year.
All right.
And then I'm sticking with the Horned Frogs, man. I think they get it done.
I think
the undefeated Big 12 champ makes it in.
Man, Tennessee and Oregon fans everywhere are going to hate you for that. They're going to hate you for it.
They can hate me for whatever. I think the Pac-12 is, they look at the SEC and that's what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
Pac-12 doesn't know what football is. That's my opinion.
Yep.
Bo Nix was one of the worst, in my opinion, SEC quarterbacks of all time. Now he's at Oregon. He's a Heisman candidate. It's because of the competition.
It is. It really is.
I've never liked Pac-12 football, and I know they're all college athletes. They're all good football players. But there's something about the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC. I don't know. I can't rock with the Pac-12, man.
Now give me your national champion. Who do you think's going to run the table and win it all?
You've heard me talk about them the most.
Yeah.
I believe they have the most experience, the most depth.
Hot take right here.
Vital positions.
Prepare yourself.
I believe they've been overlooked this year. I believe in past years they were rightfully overlooked. They got a coach that's made his name in college football with the Ohio State Buckeyes as your 2022 national champion.
The Ohio State Buckeyes. You heard it here first. For me,
CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Go. He takes them. You know what? I'm going to go even further. I'm going to say who they defeat.
Who do they defeat?
Georgia, baby. They're taking down the dogs.
They're taking them down. Kirby Smart's not going to be ready.
Smart's face. They're barking in his face.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's pandemonium. People are breaking down the stands, running everywhere.
Now, do you think that 1-4, the Georgia TCU game, do you think it's even close?
Dude, I don't know, man. Georgia. Here's another thing. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about this for a second. To me, I'm a big SEC fan. I love SEC football. I think that's the best conference in football, which I think a lot of people are trying to get behind that now. Georgia is spotty to me.
Yeah.
They got a big win against Tennessee, yes, a great win against a great team, and they manhandled that game. But if you look back, and I know it's earlier in the season, but Kent State, 39-22. Missouri, 26-22. Okay? I don't know, man. There's something about them that just
I 100% agree.
They're going to get beat.
I 100% agree. Even in that Tennessee game, there were a few throws in that game. People are like, oh, Georgia ran away with it. But if there was a few throws in that game that could have changed the complexity of the game, if Hendon Hooker would have hit on some of those deep balls, that's a totally different game.
No, I agree. I can remember one right now. Jalen Hyatt's wide open. He overthrows him by about 5.
Same thing with Cedric Tillman, both sides of the field.
Ball's in his hand. It's a completely different game.
Yep.
Hey, call me crazy, but let's talk about Georgia a little bit more right here since they are the number one team. A lot of people are picking them to win. Okay? They got a Mississippi State team on the road with cowbells in their ear.
Yep.
Kentucky team at Kroger Field has got Will Levis, who could be one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Okay? And Georgia Tech's a non-factor. Let's not talk about them.
Yeah.
But you got 2 SEC teams on the road in hostile territory. Kroger Field's becoming a hostile place to play.
It is.
Kentucky football is starting to be relived. Mark Stoops has got that team playing well, and fans are starting to show up and make that place loud. Mississippi State's always loud. You got a million cowbells in that place. And it's Georgia. Everybody's going to be there.
It is. I think that is definitely on upset alert. I think LSU could be on upset alert.
Yes, I agree with that too. Arkansas is a tough place to play.
They are. It is.
Suey, baby.
I know. They're crazy over there. I think they can get it done if they really put it to them. I think LSU, Brian Kelly, they got it going on, but they really got to get it. They really got to take down Arkansas. They can't get too complacent. How things have been going for them. And one more thing to calm down Alabama fans a little bit. I think everybody is a little harsh on Alabama because let's just think about it. They're two plays away from being the number one team in college football. If they make the field goal against Tennessee, win the game, if they stop the 2-point conversion and beat LSU, they're the number one team in college football right now, and everybody's praising Nick Saban. But right now he's under fire and everybody's hating on him. But I think Alabama is still a very good football team, and Ole Miss should be scared this week on that Crimson Tide defensive front and what Nick Saban's got dialed up for him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And here is I know I talked about how great of a match it's going to be. It's a 3:30 CBS game, and we talked about Lane Kiffin's offense a little bit. But here is a hot take for me, man. Is Alabama blows them out?
Oh yeah,
that's a hot take for me.
I think so.
Hot take, okay, Nick Saban get his guys kicked off. He's going to get his guys ready to go. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I still think Lane Kiffin's team is really good. I still think that the offense that he's adapted to his strategy this year is great, and I think his offense is one of the best in the country. But I would not be surprised if Saban comes in there and curb stomps him. Because just like you said, they are 2 plays away from being not only the number 1 team in college football, but we're sitting here comparing them to the Joe Burrow LSU team.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. And here's the thing. Here's a take real quick about Alabama football. Bryce Young is the best quarterback in college football. I'll stand by that till the day I die. Bryce Young is so calm, so composed. He doesn't get upset when little things happen. Like his defense lets up a 2-point conversion. Okay, he didn't go over there and cuss his teammates out. He sat there, he watched. He's there for a little while, but he said, "You know what? Nothing I can do about it. It's out of my hands."
Yep.
Tennessee game. He did his job. Got all the way down the field. Set him up for a field goal to win it. Kicker misses. But Bryce Young doesn't get discouraged.
He did his part.
Yeah, I think he's willing to make a statement against Ole Miss.
I think they got what it takes. I'm gonna give you my top 4 real quick. I think number 1 is gonna be Georgia. I think they're gonna run the table on the rest of the teams. I think they're gonna run the table on the SEC championship. I think LSU gets there, but I do not think they get it done. That's gonna knock LSU out. Pac-12 football is just not. It's a different breed in the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC, like you said.
Yeah. Let me stop you right there real quick.
Yep.
There's one team we haven't talked about in the Pac-12 before you give us our
UCLA.
3 and 4 there. Yeah, man.
UCLA.
They got a game against USC.
They do. They could win that game. I think Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley are going to be too good for them, but they could get it done. Could get it done.
So just for the folks at home, man, be watching UCLA. They got a chance still.
And then that Pac-12 championship, if it's Oregon and UCLA, I mean, UCLA takes it to them. They could potentially be in the conversation. But whoever wins that Pac-12 championship, it's a hot take, but I wouldn't put them in regardless of who it is, regardless of what happens. I wouldn't put them in. I think it's going to be Georgia number 1. Ohio State takes it to Michigan. They outlast them in the 4th quarter, and they're number 2. I think the number 3 team is going to be the Tennessee Volunteers. I think they take it to the rest their last 3 SEC opponents, and I think TCU loses this week to Texas. That knocks them out. That leaves Michigan, a 1-loss team in the Big Ten, to the number 2 ranked team, and the Oregon Ducks, who I predict will be the Pac-12 champion. But you could replace Oregon with any Pac-12 champion. I think that Michigan gets the nod over Oregon because they have outscored their last 3 opponents 100-3. That is crazy. That is crazy. And I think
that's a good number there.
I think Michigan goes in that 4 spot. I think Georgia takes it to Michigan. Tennessee takes it over Ohio State, and we have a rematch, Georgia-Tennessee, in the national championship, where Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker, and Josh Heupel get their revenge. I got Tennessee Volunteers, national champions, on top. I think they got it. I think they're going to get it done. Is there anything else you want to talk about, John?
You want me to clean mine up and give you my 4 like that instead of just kind of throwing them out there?
Yeah.
I can do that real quick if you want me to. Yeah. Sure. So, number 1 going to be Ohio State Buckeye team that's dominated the regular season. They're going to dominate Michigan. I think it's a 2-score ball game.
Okay.
They take it to Michigan. They etch their name in college football playoff. They're the number 1 seed without a doubt in my mind. The way this TCU team's playing, the way that they're winning games, they're pulling games out in the 4th quarter, I don't see them losing. They got a Texas team is really the only test left. Baylor's not playing good football right now. They kind of went downhill. Iowa State's always a sleeper team. But I see TCU winning the season out. That puts them at the 2 seed in my mind.
2 seed.
It's an undefeated Big 12 team at the 2 seed.
Wow.
Ohio State, TCU. Okay, now we got Georgia, we got Tennessee, we got LSU, we got Pac-12 team, which I've already made my comment on that. Pac-12 not where it's at for me.
Yep.
I have, like I said before, I have a 1-loss Georgia team.
Okay.
2 LSU.
Okay.
SEC championship at 3. And I have a 2-loss LSU team.
Man, gonna be tough.
Getting the nod over a Pac-12 champion and a one-loss Tennessee.
Man. Brian Kelly doing good things.
And a one-loss Michigan team. Because of the way they played down the stretch.
Yeah. I agree with that. If that happens, if they win the SEC championship, I might give them the nod too.
Yeah, listen, because that means they beat Bama on the road, and they beat Georgia in the SEC championship. I don't see how that team couldn't make it. So that's my 4. So that puts 1-4. That puts Ohio State versus LSU. I have Ohio State taking care of LSU. That puts Georgia versus TCU. I have Georgia taking care of TCU. That puts Ohio State versus Georgia. I have the Ohio State Buckeyes and CJ Stroud, like I said, barking in the face of the dogs. They take them down. I think it's a good game, though. I don't think it's a blowout. I think Ohio State runs the table until that game. I think they blow everybody out until that game. But I think they play Georgia. I think it's a close game. I think they're just too much for Georgia.
Yeah.
So there's my 4 kind of cleaned up for you.
Yep. I think that's good. Appreciate you talking with me about it. And I hope everybody's teams finish out the rest of the stretch. But we have a little bias towards non-Pac-12 teams for good reason. Maybe something to talk about another time. But
no proof from them. We need proof.
Yeah, you got to have proof. I mean, you saw when Oregon played Georgia. You saw when Tennessee played Georgia. You saw the difference there with how Bo Nix handled it and with how Hendon Hooker handled it. But I appreciate you joining with me today, John, and I definitely have you back on the show. But I hope you enjoyed. Hope you show some love on the video, and I hope you join us next time. We'll try to get another video out in the next 2 or 3 days of Heisman candidates. But until then, peace.